This video will review the ICC in a subsequent visit. So the ICC can be accessed through visit actions, either in physical assessment, ICC, or the Integumentary Command Center. So we're going to tap on Integumentary Command Center. We're going to talk about this screen. So in the ICC, we're going to look at the wound record first. We're going to start by looking at the following reports. We're going to start with wound care orders. We tap on wound care orders, and it opens up all orders associated with the wound. So if we tap View All, we can see here the 485 order. We can arrow back and arrow back. And next we're going to look at the Wound Record Report All. Tap on that. And this report gives you information about each wound. So here's wound number 1. Here's the baseline for the wound taken on 12/17. And then here's the wound measurements taken on 12/18. So you can scroll down and see how they compare, how they've changed. Then we can also see the wound care provided for this wound on 12/18, and we can see the wound care provided on 12/17. Now if we keep scrolling down, we get to wound number 2. We can see the baseline and then the measurements taken on the last visit. And so as measurements are taken and visits are completed, this report will populate with up to 5 visits worth of information. And if we scroll to the top, you'll see that we have filters here, so we can filter weekly or we can filter monthly. And so as this report populates with visit information, you can filter, as you can see, daily, weekly, or monthly. All right, so we're going to back out of this. And then we're going to look at the Wound Assessment Tool History, or the WAT history, and this report displays a wound score for trending purposes. So if we tap on that, we can get our wound score. So on 12/18, for wound number 1, the score was 36. On 12/17, wound number 1 was 31, so you could say, oh, it's gotten a little bit worse. For wound number 2, you can see on 12/17 the score was 34, and on 12/18 the score was 39. Normally, the scores are going to get better between visits, but this was just a test patient. So you use the Wound Assessment Tool History Report to see the wound score for trending purposes. Back out of that. Now what we're going to go into is Document. So we're going to tap on Document. What that brings us to is the Wound Summary screen. And so the Wound Summary screen shows a snapshot of the most recent wound information, and this will update again from today's assessment. The text is in red here because a wound has not been assessed yet for the visit. Let's say we want to look at wound number 2, which is on the posterior. Tap down and click on posterior. It's going to flip over so we can see where wound number 2 is located. If we come back to anterior, we can also tap details to give us a zoomed in version of where the wound is located. And again, we can flip it over to the posterior. Okay, let's come back to the summary. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to document on a wound. So we're going to document on the pressure ulcer. So we're going to tap on the text here. And then the first step here will be orders. So we're going to tap on orders, and it displays the order that's associated with the wound. Okay, we can review the order here. If we have no changes to the order, then we can tap No Change to Order. Or if we want to associate a new order, we can do that as well. Users will want to review all orders to ensure the most recent order is associated with this wound. Click on No Change because we're going to follow this order: cleanse with saline, patch dry with gauze. That's the wound care we're going to provide. Then we can tap No Change to Order. If we come back in, review order, if we want to associate a new order, this will allow you to write a new order. So you tap on Associate New Order, and you enter in an order just like you would do today for wound care. Wound care set to yes, enter the instructions and any reasons, and then save. We're going to discard, and we're going to come back. Okay, so there's no change to this order. We're going to continue to use this associated order. All right, so we're going to back out and leave our orders checked. Okay, we're going to continue and document on the wound. So we're going to tap Assessment, and you can select Not Assessed. If you do select Not Assessed, you have to give a reason why you're not assessing the wound. We're going to back out, and we're going to tap Assessment, and we're going to document. And then what you want to do is document the wound as you would before. Nothing has changed here with this form. And I'm just going to click through here so we can continue with our video. But you do want to, look at the wound and take the correct measurements. And again, I'm just really going to click on things so we can document on this wound. Okay, once you're done assessing, you get the green check. And now we can move on to wound care provided. We tap on wound care, and again you have the option to tap on care not provided, and then you have to provide a reason you didn't provide care. Okay, we're going to back out, and we're going to tap on wound care provided, but we are going to document our wound care. And this is the template that was created when the wound was created. And so we can add some additional text. If we provided, cleanse with saline, if we provided that, but we provided anything additional, we want to add any additional care we provided. And then we can also add some information of how the patient did. So we can add that the patient tolerated well. So again, you want to use this additional text if you provided additional care in addition to what was entered in this template, and then any additional information you want to add. Okay. So tap save, and now we've completed our wound care provided. Okay, so some other information about this screen. We have the wound actions section. So in the wound actions section, you have the option to inactivate. You can't delete a wound since it was created in an earlier visit. You can only delete a wound within the visit it's been created in, but you can inactivate a wound. So inactivate is used to mark a wound as healed. So let's tap inactivate, and here are the reasons why you would inactivate a wound. So let's choose healed. So we'll tap healed, and remind you to notify the physician of the change. Tap dismiss, and now our wound has been inactivated, so the documentation section there has been hidden. Now as you see, if you inactivated an error, you can tap reactivate. The reason you're reactivating a wound, maybe a new order or a reoccurrence, or maybe you just inactivated an error. So we're going to tap inactivate an error, and you'll see it activates the wound. Since this is a pressure ulcer, you have the option to restage the pressure ulcer. So let's tap on restage, and you give reasons why you're restaging. Just keep in mind that pressure ulcers cannot be restaged. So let's pick deteriorated, and then you have the option to select the new stage of the wound. Okay, but we're going to back out. Alright, so now that we've documented, we can come now to the wound record report. We're going to tap on that, and as you see, it has the documentation that we just did today. And so like I mentioned, this report would just populate columns for up to 5 visits. And now we're going to back out of this screen and come back to the wound summary screen, and now you'll see that this link is blue because that means we have documented on this wound. Alright, now let's leave this screen, so we're going to sign out, or we're going to back out. And what you'll notice is we do get a warning that wound documentation is not complete. Are you sure you want to exit? This is to remind you that you need to document on the wounds before you leave the screen. If you do want to exit, you can exit, or you can cancel and you can come back and document on this wound. And one more thing before we leave the screen is we're going to add a new wound. So to add a new wound, you come down to add new wound here in the bottom right, tap add new, and then you select the view of where the wound is. Okay, so we're going to say the wound is on the back, so we're going to tap down, and you'll see you have these options. You have the male posterior, male right lateral, the foot area, and then you can also have female views if you need to see a female view. But we're going to come back to the male posterior. I'm going to tap up in the back area. So we're going to tap on the back, and you'll see it zooms in more. And you do want to get the location as precise as possible. And you can tap again, and then you can select the location. Alright, so here's our selected location. What's nice is we can tap the location, and it opens up the view again if we were incorrect. We can tap back. Okay, the next step is to select the wound type. So we're going to put a pressure ulcer. We have a wound type reference screen to help you with selecting the right wound type. Wound location descriptors is optional. It just allows you to further define where the wound is located. So we know it's on the posterior, we know it's on the right. And then if you had any other information, you could select that. Wound onset date is required. So if you tap save, it's going to require you to enter in the onset date of the wound. So select wound onset date, and we're going to say it was here on the 18th. And we're going to tap save, and now we have wound number 3, and here's the wound we just added. And again, the wound numbers are just based on when wounds were entered. We have an X now with our new wound. If we tap details, it's going to zoom in on the 2 locations on the posterior. Then we can tap out to summary. Alright. And then to document, you would just tap on this wound and document like we did before. Okay. So that's how you add a new wound. And so documents come in here, and we're going to tap orders. And we're going to associate a new order because this is a new wound we are adding. Okay, so it defaults to a physician. We can change the physician. So this is just like you would add a wound now. You'll notice that wound care order defaults to yes, and then you would add your instructions. And then we're going to tap save. Here's our wound care template. Again, it's in past tense. And we tap save. And now we have associated this order with this wound. So you could continue on and assess the wound and then enter in the wound care you provided, just as we documented on the wound before. Alright, so we're going to back out now. We're going to back out. And we're going to exit because we're done with the ICC Center. What we're going to do now is we're going to sign out of the visit because we're going to look at the medical records. So we're going to incomplete our visit, and we'll doc later and we'll complete it. Okay, tap incomplete. Now what we're going to look at is the medical record screen. So let's come to medical records, and we're going to look at our patient, and we're going to look at the SN11. So we have the wound history available outside of a visit. So we're going to scroll down and look at, it's at the bottom, wound assessment tool history. And this shows the Watt score for trending purposes. And so it'll give you the date, the wound number, the score, and so you can just trend as the score changes. So wound number 2, you can see the score, the changes in the score from visit to visit. So we're going to back out. Okay, then we're going to look at the wound summary report. So this is a nice feature where you can evaluate the wounds before you start your visit. So tap on wound summary report. And then this is going to open up that summary screen that you see when you're inside the visit. So before you start a visit in medical records, you can see the information about the wound. Okay. You can scroll to the right and see the measurements taken for the wound. You can see that there are 3 wounds. You can see that they're pressure ulcer or surgical wound. You can tap details and get the zoomed in view. And again, just like before, you can flip to the posterior view to see the details. And again, you can scroll right to see the information. Come back to summary, and then if you tap on the wound, here the wound link, it's going to open up this report here, so where you can review information about the wound, and then the wound care provided. So come back out, and that completes this video overview of the Integumentary Command Center and a subsequent visit.